Hello and welcome to Transplanar RPG. We are an all-transgender, person-of-color-led, dark fantasy actual play channel featuring homebrew stories that center non-colonial, anti-Orientalist world-building and campaigns about queerness, grief, hope, and the power of love. Godkiller, First Blood is a 16-part podcast miniseries that follows a mythic, violent, and transformative tale about a single mortal rising against the challenges of the divine. Tonight, your god is me, Connie Chong, and my Godkiller is C. Thomas. First Blood is a dark fantasy series that explores themes that may be triggering for some listeners.
Content warnings for this episode may include fantasy violence, body horror, gore, classism, poverty, religious imagery, grief, trauma, ghosts, death, explosions, fire and immolation, sacrifice, heights and falling, and mentions of romance, sex, cannibalism, and betrayal.
Episode 8. Death. Alright, Rune. I need you to roll 2d6, no modifiers, to kill a god.
Yes, Your Honor. Snake eyes.
Are you kidding me? Or did you actually roll?
I'm not kidding.
You got 2 1s?
I got 2 1s. I'm gonna take a picture and send it to you. I got 2 1s.
Oh my god. Okay, so when you confront a god in their true form and exploit their downfall to kill them, describe how you slay them. I think you already did. You ignite the hellfire within you and blow up her blood, and you've rolled that 2d6, and that's a miss. So on a miss, they bestow a curse upon you with their dying breath. And regardless of your roll...
This is the worst 24 hours of my life.
Oh god. So regardless of your role, you seize a semblance of their power. So, this is what happens. The chariot ignites like a funeral pyre. Flames lick up, up, up through the oil-slick rain, splashing outward against the greasy underbelly of the clouds above. The chariot has not stopped screaming. She is howling and shrieking with a noise no god should ever make. She reels backward, hooves thundering, blood boiling and burning outside of and inside of herself, and you, Rune, you are still tight in her chromium grasp, and you are also aflame, and the fire is eating your skin, it is eating your hair, your nails, your eyes, and the chariot collapses onto a knee. Boom! Chrome cracking asphalt. Boom! Another knee. Boom, 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 until she is a limp, unmoving, flaming pile of titanium. Rune, as the chariot's fingers loosen from your body, and you start to tumble out of her palm and onto the oily ground, you hear that ferocious, authoritative, world-shaking voice ring out in a cracked, hollow gasp, one last time. As the chariot says,
I could not have the eternal chase I wanted, and neither shall you. Thou shalt never claim what thy heart truly desires.
as she curses you with her dying breath.
Oh my god.
You fall unconscious. Because you're gonna take that miss now from marking your 5th strain, which says, on a miss, you fall unconscious. Clear 1 strain, and the GM will describe the desperate scene you find yourself in when you wake. So you get to clear 1 strain, you're at 4 now, you're no longer at 5, you're still on the brink, you're no longer at 5. And your world, Rune, goes black. You float through interminable void where there is no sight, no sound, no touch, no taste, no smell, until your eyes open. And you are surrounded by a city street as wide as space and as long as time. 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 people walk down this street, all ambulating toward the same direction, east to west. This is the same dream you've had every single night for the last 7 years, Rune, but this time, something's different. You have a body, standing on the side of the street watching these ghosts, that's right, ghosts, mill from east to west. You can feel the pavement against your feet, the heatless light against your skin. You're not just looking in from beyond. You're here. Actually here, in a more corporeal way than you've ever been before. What do you do?
Am I still on the sidewalk?
You are. You are still on the sidewalk.
As Rune comes to standing upright in their body, this dreamlike quality taking over their reality, their understanding of themselves, which then becomes rooted in the non-existent breeze, the smell of nothing that permeates this place, the sound of the footsteps and the rustling cloth as people walk. Rune's heart rate spikes before they realize exactly what's happening. And for the first time, their head turns and they're able to look around. Their eyes tilt upward, looking up at these gigantic skyscrapers, the soft blue light that seems to permeate this whole place. They look up and around, down at their feet, their hands singed at the ends, and this slow sense of falling, doom, picks up in Rune's chest.
That's when you hear a voice. A voice that was audible to you in the waking world as an intimation of sound. Well, that was close. You almost died back there. Must be why you're so fleshy.
You! And Rune turns to face the devil.
The devil stands next to you, towering, lithe, leaning against a blackened lamppost. His 4 wings are folded behind his back, and he is every bit as beautiful as the day you killed him. His open robe reveals a smooth, muscular chest with a deep, jagged black wound over his sternum. That self-same wound you dealt him. I thought I told you to tell the Chariot I said hello.
You fucking bastard, what is this?
Oh, where are your manners? Is that really the proper way to address a god?
I think their feet move without them even realizing it. They take 3 firm steps toward him. Address a god, you're nothing but a ghost now.
Oh, well, just because I'm a ghost doesn't mean I'm not real. See? And he reaches out a hand and presses a finger against your chest with such force that I think you stumble backward. He just sort of pops you and you stagger.
What is this? Where am I? What's going on?
I can still hurt you down here if I wanted to. Oh, but the little cruelties in this dried up remnant of the river are not nearly as satisfying as they were in the cradle.
What are you talking about? I have had it with all of these fucked up tricks and you're whispering in my ear. What have you done to me? What is this? What kind of curse have you laid upon me?
Curse? Curse? Oh, you wound me, Rune. You wound all of us.
Don't make me do it again.
You can't kill me again, silly. I'm already dead.
I can try.
Yes, fling yourself again and again and again against a sun that will never go out. We're already dead here. The worst has already come to pass. And if you're unlucky enough, the worst might come to pass to you, too, if you keep accusing me of such cruelties I did not commit. What, do you think I've been whispering in your ear just to befuddle and perplex you? No! I've been trying to guide your hand. You have not been a very good student.
Student? Student? How could you possibly claim innocence here?
Oh, I've never claimed innocence. I'm just not the purveyor of your worst nightmare in the way you think I am.
No? Then enlighten me.
Fine, fine. Pull up a chair. And then there's suddenly a chair behind you, on the side of the street. A beautiful, ornate wooden chair that looks plucked from the innermost sanctum of a divine cathedral.
Rune stares at the chair and considers breaking it with their foot, but they glower at it like it is their worst enemy instead of the devil, who stands before them.
You're going to want to sit for this.
No, I don't think I do.
Okay, don't say I didn't warn you. Then let me tell you everything. The first god who descended from the river was the star, because she loved the mortals of the cradle. She taught them how to speak, how to write, how to sing, how to love. She taught the mortals how to worship her, and how to walk beside her. She was a guide and a teacher, and the first bright thing in the dark night sky above the cradle. It is said that when the mortal-loving star was slain by their brother the world, whom we call witness, she wept. A single tear fell from her mighty eye, plummeting down through the clouds, the trees, the earth itself, until it landed in the palm of Judgment, whom we call Judge. From that tear sprang the star's dying breath, and with it, a prophecy. A prophecy of disaster, of change, of freedom. A prophecy that one day a single mortal would rise against the challenges of the divine, blessed with the power to slay a god. The judge heard this prophecy, and he deemed it just, but dangerous. He locked the tear away deep, deep, deep in a chamber that has never known light and never will. But the thing about darkness, Rune, is that it whispers. The champion of the below was a lost and forsaken executioner. Every drop of blood that wetted his axe drove him deeper into turmoil. He was a mortal, and his heart wept for his brethren, and yet he served a god that demanded complete obedience. One starless night, the executioner wandered into the deepest reaches of the below, a place only he was allowed to tread as champion. And there, in that oily, seething dark, he found the prophecy. A world where mortals did not worship and depend on gods, but walked amongst them as equals. 2 decades ago, the executioner consecrated 10,000 law-breaking lives in Judgment's name, then walked out of the darkness, a free man. He took with him 2 things: his axe and the knowledge of the prophecy. You see, the conditions had to be perfect. 22 lives, 21 of them mortal, given willingly with brotherly love in their hearts, the exact kind of love that had been twisted against the star. And 1 life divine, given viciously, with cruelty in his, the exact kind of hatred that the world had twisted against his sister. 22 sacrifices, one for each of the major arcana, all so that a Godkiller would emerge, baptized in blood and flame. And of course, the most important condition of all, that the Godkiller to be could not have even a single shred of desire in their heart. If the Godkiller knew of the powers to come, surely they would want to use them. But even a selfless desire is desire. An impossible prophecy. For what do mortals want? But want. And so, the executioner and his 20 beloved mortals devised a plan. The Godkiller to be could not know of the prophecy. They could not be aware of its existence. And yet, they had to be trained. They needed to be good with a blade, quick on their feet, and above all, brave enough to fight, even when all was lost.
No, you're lying.
Brave enough to point their sword against an invincible foe. Brave enough to become the Godkiller.
You're lying. Again.
The devil lets out an exasperated sigh. He rolls his beautiful eyes to the back of his skull, literally showing just whites, and then when they roll back, his expression is dark. A wonderful, shadowy radiance across that handsome visage. Why would I lie to you? You're on the brink of death, and I don't intend for you to die yet. You have work to do.
No. They wouldn't... That makes no... It's not possible. You're lying. Again, you broke your promise, and that's all it was. You're just trying to trick me.
Promise. Oh, yes, I made a joke about promises, didn't I, the first time we met? About how they were just mortal superstition when it came to bargaining with me. Well, that was just a joke, Rune. I do have to keep my word.
No, they wouldn't leave me. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't... No.
Oh, it's all very trite and boring. They believed in you. You were their hope. You were their star, yada yada yada. They told me to pass something on, but they didn't make me swear to it, so I've forgotten exactly what their last words to you that they wanted me to ferry was. Something about how, we all love you, Rune, you're our hope, you're the best of us, blah blah blah.
You bastard, I will kill you where you stand, again, as many times as it takes until your memory is flooded out of this river.
Oh, please, you petulant child. And look where that got you the first time. I've been trying to reach you every night for the past 7 years, but did you listen to me? No, you had to stamp your feet and wail and cry, oh, pity me, I lost my family, I lost my friends. You know how many mortals lose their entire family in acts of divine tragedy every day in the cradle? Countless. You think you're special. You think your grief is special. No. As far as I'm concerned, you're just another grain of sand in the infinite hourglass of the cradle. But for some reason, it had to be you. So we're stuck with each other.
Then why did you do it?
Oh, why did I do it indeed? And his mood changes instantly, like the weather on a dime. That thunderous expression, that viciousness melts away immediately to like that of a kind of like radiant, wistfulness. And he sits down on a chair that's just there. You didn't notice it arrive, you don't notice it leave, it's just there. He sits. My involvement is very simple, actually. Aside from the judge, the one other entity in the cradle who is privy to contracts, deals, and the Godkiller prophecy is myself, the devil, of course. Ever since the river dried up some 1,000 years ago, I have seen my brethren turn against each other like animals. It is disgusting and sad, pitiable. The fringe gods eat themselves, and the six cower away in their sad little citadel, lording over a city of dead flesh. They are so obsessed with surviving, they forget to thrive. They forget the gods they used to be, the domains they used to rule. We forget our home. The river, where there is no space that can be charted, no time that can be forgotten. The river, in her infinite, endless majesty, where there was always enough food to eat, enough prey to hunt, enough sex to be fucked out. But here, in the cradle, we succumb to our lowest, most pathetic selves. As gods, our bodies can be killed, but our immortal souls return to the river after death. Before the devouring, we could manifest new forms in the cradle at will. Death was a passing annoyance. But now, when we die, it's a lot more permanent. We become ghosts in the dried-up remains of the river, swimming down its dying current alongside every mortal that has ever perished. One day, the river will finally dry up for good, and all of us will be taken by oblivion.
Rune's eyes finally slide sideways to the unending stream of mortals walking down this city street, the ghosts. And their eyes flick upward to the memory of Athamos floating through the sky above them. And then they pin back on the devil. Why are you telling me all this?
I agreed to the pact with Jiang because I want to see the cradle remade in blood and flame, even if it means my own death. For you are not just a mortal with the power to kill a god, Rune. That's not what being the Godkiller is just about. You are the bridge between realms, between life and death, between your home and ours, between the cradle and the river. Your arteries will run gold with the name of every god you'll kill, and every deity that falls by your blade will bring you closer to controlling the flow of the river that pumps through your soul. You couldn't hear me before because you refused to look at what you did in its face. Like I said, I've been trying to reach out to you every night since you killed me. Because I promised Jiang, I promised the heretics that my ghost would teach you to wield your divinity like a blade. For that, I am at the very least grateful to the speaker and the champion of the above. Their arrival lit a flame under you, and now the flame must never go out. I am betting on you, Godkiller. I am betting on you to burn the cradle to the ground.
And what purpose would that serve? Was it not fire that brought me here?
It certainly was, and it will be fire that will remake the realm. My fire. Your fire. The Godkiller's fire. But that's not your divinity, oh little heretic. Hellfire is simply a power you have taken from me, that you are borrowing from a god that was not you. Your divinity is your connection to the river. You can do so much more than just kill the gods that stand in your way. Can't you see this? You can control the river itself.
Rune falters a little bit. So he looks down at their hands, clench a fist. Then teach me. Teach me how.
A smile cuts across the devil's face like a knife, revealing sharp fangs. He opens his mouth to respond. He extends a hand for you to shake. But then there is a noise. A noise of whispering feathers. A dark noise. A soft noise, as familiar and comforting as a loved one's final embrace. And then, just like that, the devil is no longer the only god on the side of the street. Standing next to him, their hands clasped behind their back, is Death. Death wears a pure black half cape draped over one shoulder, obscuring the right side of her torso. Her trousers, made of that same pure black material, are cinched at the waist by a belt of silver-plated bone. Their long-sleeved tunic is unbuttoned all the way to the navel, revealing silver top surgery scars and a chest etched with intricate black tattoos that shift and move as though alive. They look like words, but not in any language you understand, though you instantly get the sense that they are the names of every person who has ever died. Death wears a wide-brimmed black hat and a pair of rounded sunglasses that obscure her eyes. Long white hair flows past their hat. Their face is gaunt and soft, pliant and hard, a handsome study of contradictions. One half of her lower jaw has no flesh, no muscle, no tendon. Instead, it is made of pure silver bone. Death cocks their head to the side, regarding you, Rune. You see a flash of red past the dark tint of her sunglasses. And Rune, this is the even more desperate situation you find yourself in because you auto-failed on your move to mark your 5th strain.
Okay.
Because Death now says to you, there you are, the mortal that's been raising hell. Well, your troublemaking days are over. I am here to claim you.
Can I roll to recognize a god?
Yes, you can.
My favorite move to overkill on.
Let's knock on wood. So when you want to recognize the signs or influence of a god of the cradle, roll 2d6. Add 1 for each true statement. You're in or near their domain, yeah. You're familiar with their gospel.
I think everyone is familiar with Death's gospel. I think it's the simplest of any god in the cradle. Death will always claim you.
That's true. Okay, that's true. It'd be bad if you didn't know. That is also true. So that is a +3. Great conditions for an overkill.
Ooh boy. Hilariously, 7. I rolled really bad again on the dice.
You rolled a 4? Oh my god. Okay, but that's a hit. So on a hit, you competently interpret the omens. Ask your GM a single question of your choosing and they must answer honestly.
Oh my god, I've never gotten this before. Okay.
You've never gotten this far.
I think Rune instantly recognizes Death. It is the deepest mortal instinct to know when she is here, when she has arrived. And this sinking feeling of doom, that feeling of falling that crawls through Rune's chest, deepens, shatters, as they lay eyes upon her. And I would like to ask you, what is my way out of this?
Okay, you little bitch. Wow. I was really like, okay, Death is gonna claim you, and you were like, Uno reverse. So.
I said draw 4.
Okay. Rune, your eyes are drawn to the devil. Because as Death comes in, says that she's going to claim you, the devil also turns to regard her, blinking. He doesn't look surprised, but he does look amused. His wings kind of like ruffle a little bit and they fold against his back. He leans in and he, I think to your horror, slings an arm around Death and pulls her in like they are familiar old buddies. And he like leans his head in with those huge horns that form a cracked halo. We're gonna move on from that. That form a cracked halo above his head. Again, we're gonna move on from that.
History will say that they were just friends.
They were buddies. The devil leans his head against the crook of Death's neck and says, "Oh, Death, it's been too long. Or has it never been at all? I'm so sorry, but you're interrupting a very important conversation I'm having with my friend."
We are not friends.
I didn't think so. Death's crimson eyes raise over the tilt of her sunglasses as they pull off of you and slide onto the devil. She's as stiff and uncomfortable as a statue. After all, what kind of friends kill each other? And her eyes fall back on you, Rune.
The kill each other makes Rune's eyebrows raise. They had gone into that final confrontation with the devil, understanding that they were about to die, but they had woken up, and they had not met death. So I think their eyes flick between death and the devil with this mounting confusion and panic.
Death goes on to say, looking at you, "You have cheated me once before. It is time for me to claim what's..." And then the devil interrupts, pulling Death even closer, like with the arm around the shoulder still. "Oh, please, come now, Death. It wasn't personal." And Death's eyes tear back at him. "Personal? Personal." And it sounds like venom in her mouth, that word, personal. "You would die for them?" "Death, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you were jealous." "Please, such emotions are beneath me. And that doesn't address the fact that there is an unclaimed soul I am here for."
Rune feels so very small beside these two 10-foot tall gods who are having some kind of, well, can I roll to feel someone or something out?
Yes! So when you try to feel out a person, place, or thing, say what you want clarity about and answer one. I will give you the clarity you seek as I answer the other.
So it seems like there has already been some kind of interaction with Death, specifically about how the devil died, and that there is some kind of tension between the two of them about that, which directly contradicts the gospel that Rune is familiar with about Death, that she cannot be cheated. But the devil, and Rune hates that they think this, is in the details. So as these two are talking to each other, Rune is trying to probe for any kind of weaknesses if there is a way out of this for them.
Sure, okay, so answer one of the two, which are either what feels welcoming on the surface or what feels unnerving when I peer deeper.
I think what feels welcoming on the surface is that it has already happened somehow. There was a moment where Rune died, ? But they lived for many years afterward. So I think what feels welcoming is that it has already happened.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the clarity you seek as I answer the other, which is what feels unnerving when I peer deeper. So, I think it comes out in this conversation. Death says to the devil, "So this is where you've been hiding this entire time, your ghost cowering in the shadows of the river. I couldn't see you when you fell. Now I know why. This troublemaker, this... What are they calling you now? Godkiller? It's been roaming around the cradle, wreaking havoc. They slew you. No, you allowed yourself to be slain by them." And there is an edge of resentment, shock, uncertainty, and yes, jealousy in Death's voice as she looks at you. And as the devil pulls her ever closer and she shoves him away, even though it doesn't look like she's exerting any effort, the devil flies backward. But he is an immovable mountain, right? Unstoppable force meets an immovable object and they kind of break apart. There is history between Death and the devil. And the welcoming aspect of that history is that it almost feels human. It almost feels mortal. They used to mean something very intimate to each other, indeed. And they don't anymore.
I'm so fucked.
But there does seem to be something that has remained from that intimate history, which is that you get the sense that the devil maybe pledged or promised, or maybe there was even an unspoken understanding, a kind of anchoring foundational trust and understanding that Death would be the one to take the devil. But it wasn't Death. It was you.
Rune takes like 3 steps back.
Sensing movement, both of these gods' eyes turn and they fix on you at the same time. Death steps forward, and then in her hand there's a sickle. A curved moon sickle, glinting as sharp as, well, death. Don't struggle. It makes it harder. If you step forward, I can guarantee a painless passage.
I really, really hate to say this, but I'll be damned if I let you take me now.
It's hardly a choice, heretic. Hold on now, Death, hold on. Rune here might have a point. After all, what was that little gamble I helped fashion for you oh so many centuries ago? Oh yes, the challenge.
Rune's eyebrows raise.
And Death says without looking away from you, "Are you seriously?" And then the devil cuts her off. "I invoke the challenge on the behalf of Rune..." What's your last name?
Ironsworn.
"On the behalf of Rune Ironsworn, heretic of Iron 42, Godkiller. Do you accept?" Death stands there, sickle still drawn, face still in your direction, eyes still fixed on you, and you see annoyance, like a deep, annoyed exasperation cross her face. Well, I can't exactly refuse, can I? I, Death, the 13th Arcana, accept your challenge. I assume you are arbitrating? Yes, of course I'm arbitrating, darling. I, the devil, the 15th Arcana, shall arbitrate this challenge. Mortal, propose the game.
What?
Oh, yes, the challenge is a little gamble I created for Death back in our, let's say, more prodigal days, that allows a mortal to squirrel out of their obligations to the lady herself.
Rune's eyes flick to Death one more time before fixing back on the devil.
Death's eyes roll, and she looks aside. Like you get the sense that she's almost, like, embarrassed by the fact that she had agreed to fashion a challenge. Like someone is bringing up stories of her old college days, doing wanton activities, and now they're catching up to her. And the devil leans in with a big canine-like smirk on his face and says, "The rules are as follows. The mortal proposes a game that has a clear win-lose outcome. The two of you compete in said game. I act as an arbitrator, a fair and neutral third party. If the mortal wins, they get to walk away free from the thing that would have killed them until Death comes around to claim them later. If Death wins, well, I think we all know the outcome of that. Oh yes, there is one more rule. Death gets to draw upon the talents and abilities of any person they've ever claimed."
Rune's brow furrows. That's hardly fair.
You're right. That is hardly fair. You know what? To make it more just, Death, how about this? You can only draw upon the talents of any mortal that has ever lived. You can't use the abilities of gods. After all, poor little Rune Ironsworn is but a little human. I would hardly say they're just a human. They are the Godkiller. Fine. I accept these terms. What game do you propose, mortal?
The answer comes to them swiftly and without hesitation. Dive jumping. A race from the top of Iron 42 to the bottom.
Dive jumping? Oh, yes, that silly little game that has placed many mortal souls in my care.
Rune inhales a little bit, shifts on the balls of their feet, glances at the devil to see if he approves.
The devil claps his hands together with a big smile and says, "Ha ha! Very well. The challenge has been set. The game begins." He He snaps his fingers, that same snap that had erupted all of those heretics into flame a lifetime ago. And you're back in Iron 42. The river is gone, and this pit town yawns open wide around all three of you. You see familiar iron roofs, you see ropes, ladders, bridges. Over there is the butcher's shop, you see the entrances to the mines several levels below. But there is one crucial difference about this version of Iron 42. There's no one in it, except for you, the devil, and Death. I think you and Death are standing on a rope bridge at the very top of Iron 42, looking down this dizzying height toward interminable darkness that yawns open. You're swaying slightly on the wood, the ropes creaking in the breeze around you. The devil is hovering above the two of you. His wings aren't floating, but he is levitating in the sky. And his arms are propped behind his back. It looks almost like he's sitting in a hammock or something with his legs crossed, and he's looking down with a expression of amusement on his face. Death, next to you, gives Iron 42 a cursory glance, heaves a kind of heavy sigh, and raises a finger up to the shifting tattoos on their exposed chest and taps one of the names. And that name swims to the very top and fixes in place as the other names flit away from it. And you see a name in a language finally that you can understand, a name that is familiar to you. Aaliyah Bronzeheart. And as Death taps that name, bing, it like glows around her, and you see kind of hovering in like a ghostly shimmer, like a hallucination or an illusion behind Death. Aaliyah. She looks exactly the same as the day she died. Her face, her jaw, her hair, her clothes, in the peak of her youth, in the prime of her athleticism. Aaliyah Bronzeheart, whom you have never been able to beat at this game.
Rune's heart rises to the top of Zero's chest, practically threatening to explode out of them. Ever since that day, they had only been able to see Aaliyah as a crying, screaming, angry red ghost, haunting them. And to see her now peaceful, quiet, smiling, hovering around Death makes them feel like they could fly. And I think without meaning to, they take 2 steps forward and this quiet voice bursts out of their throat. Aaliyah. Aaliyah.
Aaliyah turns to look at you, even as she's hovering behind and kind of above Death, and her like ghostly see-through eyes widen a fraction of a second, like she's recognizing you in this moment, like she knows what's about to happen, like she's aware and not just a simulacrum of a ghost, but that this is actually her. And then that expression settles into one of a confident smile, you know, like a friendly challenge. Hey, Rune. So, you ready to get your ass whipped again?
Aaliyah. Aaliyah. And Rune's voice sounds like it did when they were 18, and nothing had broken, and everything that had broken still felt like it could be mended. And for the first time in they don't even know how long, a smile breaks over Rune's face. And I think despite Death, despite the devil, despite the peril, despite the fear, despite the anger, despite the rage, Rune laughs. A kind of panicked, hazy noise. But they know that if they die, well, damn, at least they did it racing Aaliyah down to the bottom of Iron 42. Yeah, I'm ready.
God, I love that. Wow, okay. my heart is literally breaking right now. This moment is really beautiful. Death pauses as she's getting ready at the edge of the bridge. She cocks her head to the side, looking at you. Her sunglasses slide just a fraction of a centimeter down the bridge of her nose to reveal those crimson eyes in full. And oh my god, they are so red. They're red just like the red of the right eye that you have. A similar shade of red as the devil's eye. And Death says to you, "No mortal has ever been able to commune with the ghosts of the river in this way before. Devil, you have much to tell me after this challenge has ended.
Rune can hardly break their gaze off of Aaliyah, but they turn to look at Death with this kind of open innocence. For the first time, like they're greeting an old friend, they're greeting their worst enemy, they're greeting everything that their life, their morals, their drives, their ambitions have ever centered around, because it's true, the reason they became a heretic was because they wanted to choose when they died. And now they're getting that chance, in a real way, to decide when they die. And Rune takes a sharp inhale of breath, looks at her steadily for the first time, holding the gravity of her domain, of her divinity. Let me show you what I'm capable of.
Death blinks, and then she lets out a please, turns around to look back down at this path, and above you the devil laughs and says, oh, you're starting to root for them, aren't you? Shut up and call it. Ready, set, go.
Rune jumps. Immediately, the wind whistling past their face as they free fall down, down, down. They take the long jump. They take that first starting jump that sends them down 10 feet, 20 feet, 60 feet, 65 feet. And they know that there is a net all the way down there that has enough buoyancy to not crack their bones on impact. And they send themselves down, 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 and enjoy the fall.
Next to you, also whistling through the air like an arrow, is Death, with Aaliyah's ghost floating through, above, beyond, and behind her. And Aaliyah is shouting and whooping in joy and glory and all of that pure, childlike freedom that comes with just flying through the air. Right? She's whooping and she's going, ha ha, oh, Rune, that's a good path, but you always forget the best one is air. And she just goes right past you as you bounce on the net, because what makes Aaliyah such an incredible free runner isn't just that she knows the best paths and is extremely athletic. It's that she is fearless. She does the incredibly dangerous things without hesitation. She just crashes right down. She throws out a hand, like even though she's been free falling for like 10 seconds, and catches herself on like an exposed beam and swings around on it, using the momentum to propel herself forward and down, 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 down. And Death's body, as the body of a god, doesn't take impact like a mortal does. She's able to just hit platform to platform to platform without staggering or stumbling like Aaliyah had to because of the limitations of her physical mortal form. So Aaliyah's fearlessness, knowledge of the roots, and instinct coupled with Death's physical prowess as a god is making her into a really difficult foe. And I think she has already gained like 10 feet on you at this point as you bounce in the net.
Yeah, Rune launches themselves off of the net with a whoop and a howl that sounds joyful, echoing up out of the chamber of Iron 42. Like, this is exactly how they wanted to spend their challenge with Death, enjoying every single second of it, in a way that they haven't been able to enjoy anything. As all of this knowledge, all of this dream logic layers itself on top of each other, the prophecy they can hardly wrap their mind around, the devil's voice, the idea that they did this, that this was their choice. And Rune's mind, as they are free-falling, charging after Aaliyah with all the speed that they can muster out of their small, breakable, mortal body. All of their faces come to Rune in that flash, in those memories. As they go down Iron 42, they can see the platform where Freya had first taught them how to pounce with both of their knives drawn. They can see the place where Ellery cooked everyone her famous bread. They charge past the little underhang where they and Opal had written poems etched into the sides of the walls, carved into the stone. They can see the spot where Emrys, who had nearly become a foreman, had taught them how to swing an axe for the first time. They see the tiny field medic's tent where Braith had tended to their wounds when they fell too hard on their knees. They pass by the pipe where Bronwyn had found Bug and Beetle as kittens, stashed away underneath the sewage. They pass the pedestal where Vistar had spent many of his days telling stories to children. And finally, for half a moment, their feet hover over the space where they had landed next to Jiang on the day that he died. His ghost walking beside them for half a moment before they leap off onto the next platform, howling all the way down, trailing smoke as they go.
I think maybe without you even realizing it, tears are flying from your eyes. Tears of grief, tears of joy, tears of memory, as you flit from platform to platform, down, 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 past these ghosts of the people you used to love, of the people you still do, of the people you hope you will see one day, not as screaming, crying ghosts, but the way you remembered them in life, full of love. And as you and Death race toward the bottom, the two of you can see now coming up that final platform before the settlements end and the mines begin, which is where your race will end. And you know that you're still 10 feet behind Death. Every maneuver you've done, every way down that you've punched through, you are 10 feet behind her. Unless, like, a fucking miracle happens, there's no way you're gonna catch up to her, let alone beat her.
It is so funny that you say that, Connie, because I would like to manifest a miracle and use my crucible move.
You bitch! Okay, I literally set myself up for that. I don't know how I did see that coming. So manifest a miracle. When you want to manifest a miracle, sacrifice a power. Describe how you channel that power into the world to its fullest potential, then erase it from your sheet. You can never use it again. So, how are you manifesting this miracle?
So I think as Rune is going down, there is a beautiful truth that comes to them, that erupts from the inside of their ribs that they cannot deny. That Aaliyah Bronzeheart is still the best dive jumper in all of Iron 42. And that even in death, Rune would never be able to beat her. And that beautiful memory, that beautiful truth swarms inside Rune's chest. And so does the truth of the Devil's words. And as Rune launches themselves off of that final platform, they make the brave choice. They don't catch on any wrought iron bars or big thick panes of glass, rope bridges, or wooden ladders. They let themselves fall, suspended in free fall. All of the memories sticking to their skin, sticking to the inside of their mind. That this is what the 21 Damned wanted of them. They wanted Rune to live. They gave their lives to give them power that they never thought that they could have. To not just decide their own fate, their own death, but to change the cradle itself. And Rune knows that they could not beat Aaliyah themselves, but they are not just themselves anymore. They are the Godkiller, and the gods will taste their steel. And I would like to sacrifice the power of the Chariot, which they had just claimed.
Oh.
And that memory of them calling out to the Chariot, denouncing her speed, that chase, that immovable power that came with running. The thing that killed them in the end, Rune wants to use now, burn it up out of their body to outpace even death.
Wow, that is the perfect power to give up, actually, because her power is speed and force. And as you leap down, and it's like down to the wire, right? Both of you are like a mere dozen feet away from that final platform. Aaliyah and Death are still in front of you, and then there is a noise like engines roaring to life. We hear the thundering of hooves against steel, and we see a chromatic glint, I think, ensconce you, as I think you light up like a fucking meteor, right? Like a falling star, like a comet, emblazoned in pure silver, red, and black light. And for a half second, a holographic illusion of the Chariot roars to life behind you, and we see that horse-long torso, that pure chromium titanium-plated muscle, those hooves thrashing and foaming as the Chariot roars. and your voice roars as well at the same time, hers interposed over your own, and you blaze and speed right past death at the last second.
Yeah, Rune explodes downward like a falling star. And as that power is sacrificed from them, I think that illusion of the chariot also burns in that smoke, in that hellfire that lives inside of Rune, that lives within the devil.
Yeah, you feel it leach away from your soul like oil being washed down a stream. And as you land on the ground, you realize you've cratered this platform, right? This platform of stone, there's just a crater. Death lands next to you a second later with all of Aaliyah's grace and agility and refined poise. And the devil next to the two of you claps his hands together once and his wings fold back behind his shoulders. And he looks like the cat that ate the canary. He looks so fucking smug, right? There's a look on his face that would like, even though you won, you're like, oh God, wow. You know, he looks really condescending. He looks so full of himself. And he crosses his hands over his well-muscled torso, looks down at you, looks down at Death and says, well, I think we have a clear winner here. Seems like I chose well. As Death lands, there is an expression of like sour grapes on her face for a half minute, like her mouth kind of twists to the side viciously, and then she turns to look at you. You cheated.
I don't even know if Rune is listening to her, or the devil. I think as soon as Death lands, Rune is running forward, their arms splayed out, howling with laughter and this eruptive glee that has been locked in the center of their chest for 7 years. And I think they jump upward toward that ghost of Aaliyah, trying to bring her down into a twirling, huge bear hug, laughing and crying.
Yeah, that ghost of Aaliyah floats down and is also like so gleeful and crying and laughing as well. And she takes your hands, but you can't hold them. They're incorporeal. Your fingers go through them like cold smoke, but she drifts down anyway and twirls around you, right? As you're dancing and celebrating with this ghost. As she's saying to you, wow, I can't believe you actually did it.
I couldn't actually do it. Not really. I had to use what you gave me. And I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I miss you.
Oh, Rune. All of us, we all miss you so terribly. Every day, every night that passes, we miss you, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rune. I'm sorry we did this to you. I'm sorry we're asking of you something that is so impossible and so huge.
No. I'm sorry. That's what it means, right? To be a heretic, that we would give each other the world. I'm sorry I turned my back on what you gave me.
Rune. And Aaliyah leans in and like hugs you, but you can't hold her, right? Like her arms go right through you and your arms go right through her.
Rune tries anyway.
Yeah. You try to hold on to this smoke, to this illusion, this haunt, this ghost. Aaliyah pulls away, still looking at you, silvery, ghostly tears streaming down her cheeks, and she says, all of us, Rune, we're waiting for you on the other side, you know? But we don't want you to get there until you use that gift. Do it not just for us, Rune. Not just for the cradle, but for you.
Rune desperately wants to hold on to her hands. And feeling small and scared and 18 again. But also older, tougher, more broken, more beautiful. They nod. I will. I'll do it. I want to do it.
Good. I knew Xiang picked you for a reason. Teacher's pet.
Stop.
We all picked you for a reason. Never forget that, okay?
I'm sorry it took me so long.
Don't apologize. Just use what we've given you.
I promise.
And Aaliyah, with her hand, I think, outstretched towards your face, she begins to vanish from her fingertips down to her arm, to her torso, her legs vanishing upward until it's just her face, her smile, and then she's gone.
And Rune wipes at their tears, feeling them fall in clear, salty rivers out of one eye, pitch black. And then they turn to face the two gods that wait for them.
As you turn, you are no longer in Iron 42. On that turn, you are back at the side of the river. Buildings all around you, that impossibly long and wide street, all the millions of ghosts, the devil, and death in front of you. Death heaves a sigh tightly, cocks her head to the side, and says, "As touching as that heartfelt goodbye was, it does not address the fact that you cheated. I demand another challenge, an equal one, or better yet, that I claim you for breaking the rules." A rematch? Rules? Oh, Death, darling. The stipulations we had at the beginning of the game, that you could only use mortal abilities, do not apply to Rune. We didn't say anything about Rune Ironsworn only being limited to mortal powers. Death whirls around to stare at the devil. A loophole? Seriously? That's what I'm good for, darling. And you knew about this. You knew they could harness... So what is this? A mortal that can not only walk between the cradle and the river as gods do, but that can use the powers that they poach from the divinities they slay? They're quite a specimen, aren't they? You know, the more I get to know them, the more I like them. I wasn't so sure in the beginning. They struck me as a little bit of a spineless worm. But now I think the worm is growing on me.
Hey, fuck you!
What? You didn't exactly put up a stellar fight in the cathedral. Death closes her eyes, grits her teeth, and then smooths her expression into one of grim, if resigned, acceptance. Fine. By the conditions and stipulations of this challenge, I accept the outcome. Well, there we go! Rune Ironsworn, you shall walk away from the river a free heretic. For now, of course, until the next time you get your wits clobbered out of you and death greets you on the shores once more. Make sure that doesn't happen, will you?
Rune looks kind of wide-eyed at the devil for half a moment, like they realize that this is about to break, like everything that has been built here is about to shatter into a million pieces, and they're going to go back to being a fallible mortal who lives in a body outside of this ghostly half-place where they feel so very at home. Wait. And Rune takes a few steps towards death. Wait. I'm sorry. Everyone meets death eventually. And you take care of the ghosts that have passed. And Rune's eyes flick toward the names written all over her body. You carry them with you. I wanted to thank you for that. For carrying them.
I don't need your apologies or your gratitude. I carry the names of the dead with me because I am their shepherd. I am their ferryman. I am their steward. It is what I do. It is my responsibility. It is my domain. What I can say to you is that you are tormented by the river. You have a connection with it, but it is not based on understanding and respect. It is based on fear and rage. And at that, her eyes flick toward the devil resentfully, and then back at you. If you really wish to have an equal partnership with these ghosts as I do, you must learn to speak with them. Without fear. Without anger. Without hatred.
Rune looks up into her face, trying to peer past those tinted glasses, their own eyes still swollen with tears, bloodshot. I will heed your words.
Death's face, this gaunt, hard face, softens for half a second.
Can I try to connect with someone?
Yes, you can. Okay. When you try to connect with someone, tell them something intimate and answer one. The GM will reveal a fragment of their pain as they answer the other, and the two questions available to you are, what common ground do we share and what still divides us?
I think as Rune looks up at her, is your face still swimming with this grief that has bloomed into anguish, into love, into undeniable, fraught, existential love. I think the intimate thing that I want to tell her is, I have never feared you, death. But I wish to meet you again on my own terms. It is the only thing I have ever wished for.
Which of the two questions would you like to answer?
I would like to answer what still divides us, because I think it's very simple. She is a god, and Rune is a mortal. A mortal with the power to slay a god. And they will never really understand her domain, and she will never really understand their mortality, or their mortal heart. But that doesn't mean that they don't still have common ground.
That's true. I think in response, Death's face, which has been so hard and gaunt this whole time, it softens for a fraction of a second as she looks at you. And again, those sunglasses slide down just a centimeter to reveal those piercing crimson eyes. And they say, "Oh, you mortals, weeping over such temporary things. I'll never quite understand that. All of you are taken in the end. What you live for, what you die for, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? And yet..." And we see that fragment of pain, we see sorrow. Sorrow coming from empathy, a kind of distant empathy, like how a person might sorrowfully regard a line of ants marching towards certain doom, but there's no way they can dissuade these ants from doing it. They can only watch and feel. And yet, you still fight. You still throw yourselves against the unbreakable shields of divinity as though it matters. Well, I suppose, for the first time, it does. And with a flash of silver, that curved point of her sickle presses against your sternum. Not to hurt, not even to intimidate, but to remind. You are the Godkiller, and I am a god. I am death. One day I may very well take you. And the point of that blade presses just slightly into your chest, and blood starts to bead around it. Or you may try to take me. That's the common ground you share. You, in terms of the violence you're able to inflict upon each other, are equals. As she holds that sickle taut against the two of you, Death says, "I hope that if and when the day comes for us to confront each other once more, we both make the right choice. Kill or spare." And she pulls the sickle back and it's gone.
Rune regards her with a strange kind of warmth that blooms out of that small cut in the center of their chest, bleeds down their torso. And they nod. "I know that I'll meet you again, and I know that now I have to go."
Yes, well, try not to hurry back here if you can help it. And when we do meet again, greet me with your chin held high. And then Death is gone. She's just not there anymore. There's only a whispering of fluttering wings, a suggestion of something silver and dark, and then she has vanished. And now I think the entire river is starting to get smaller around you. You're starting to feel a little woozy, the edges are turning black, and it's just the devil in front of you and the whispering feet of the millions and infinities of ghosts trawling down the river.
"Wait, you! I'm not done with you yet."
"Oh, you're never done with me, but it's time for you to go. And don't forget, I'm always with you." I'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, don't cause too much of a ruckus when you jolt back into your body.
What? And Rune jolts back into their body.
Godkiller First Blood is performed by Connie Chong and C. Thomas. Follow Connie on Twitter and TikTok at @byconniechong and C on Twitter at CPlaysRPG. To play your very own campaign of Godkiller and support our show, pre-order Godkiller First Blood Edition on itch.io today. Transplanar RPG is made possible by your Patreon contributions and sponsors who believe in our mission to tell great stories and lift up our community. Sponsors like ExplainTrade.com. Explain Trade is a negotiation skills consultancy whose director, Dimitri Opines on Twitter, has asked us to say, and I quote, "Please sign up for Transplanar's Patreon because at some point people will figure out he's a cisgender white guy giving all his money to trans and queer art and then he'll be too broke to sponsor us." We love you, Dimitri, and heed his words. Sign up for our Patreon today at patreon.com/transplanarrpg. First Blood is also sponsored by Start Playing Games, the largest online platform for players to find tabletop role-playing campaigns of your very own. Join a table that fits your schedule today at startplaying.games. We are also sponsored by Magpie Games, the independent TTRPG publisher behind such incredible works as Masks: A New Generation, Avatar Legends, Urban Shadows, Bluebeard's Bride, and much, much more. Check out their amazing selection of Powered by the Apocalypse games at magpiegames.com. Finally, we're proud to be sponsored by Roll. Roll is an online RPG platform that serves as a video-first alternative to complex virtual tabletops. Build, modify, and play your very own games of Godkiller on Roll today at playroll.com.